Hey everybody, how are you today? This is Jim from the Pain PT, and we're going to talk today about TMS. This is the term that Dr. Sarno coined, which he referred to as Tension Myositis Syndrome, TMS. And I'm going to change the acronym here today to stand for something else, which he talked about, which is too much suppression. So we're going to take TMS, which is Tension Myositis Syndrome, and actually flip it around to what it means, which is too much suppression. And what I mean by this is suppression of our feelings and emotions. This is something I see over and over again with many people I work with when I hear their stories and listen to what happened to them and when they have flare-ups of symptoms, of physical symptoms. A lot of times it's around things happening in their lives where they held back. They've suppressed their emotions in certain situations. They weren't being honest. They weren't sharing their true feelings. They were holding things in. And as a result of that, they got a spike of physical symptoms in their body. It's very clear to me, because I see it all the time now, that this is one of the processes that can cause pain or physical symptoms in the body. When we have an emotional reaction that's not expressed, and so it internally expresses itself as a physical symptom. Now, we have good science actually out there. It's not well known, but there's science to also support this. In fact, they've shown when people suppress, the more they suppress their emotions, the more likely they are to have physical symptoms. We also know alexithymia, which is that condition of the inability or having a hard time feeling your feelings and expressing your emotions. People who have this condition, which I think is pretty rampant in chronic pain world, what happens is they end up feeling their emotions physically. So this is a real condition. And a lot of people probably have a subclinical aspect of this in them, meaning they don't feel very emotional, but they feel a lot of physical discomfort, which is their emotions coming out in that sort of sensory physical way. So I have lots of examples of this with people where something happened or there was a change, they did something different, they're talking to somebody, and they have some emotion that came up, but they didn't really necessarily feel that as emotion. It could have been anger coming up around something that happened. It could be anxiety coming up around something that happened, fear, also grief and sadness. So all three of those primary emotions, anger, fear / anxiety, and sadness, grief, those three categories, all three of them have been shown in the research to produce physical symptoms in the body. We've got science in all three areas. Now, what can start out with too much suppression is a physical reaction, and that may be a habit pattern that we've learned from early childhood, right? A lot of people who end up suppressing their feelings have had either some trauma or they've never learned from their parents that it's okay and healthy and being supported and expressing their feelings. Okay, so maybe we hear the classic statement, I have a tummy ache as a child. Oh, Mom, my stomach hurts. I don't think I can go to school today. Well, maybe they're actually anxious about something at school, or they're scared, or they're mad, or they're feeling something emotionally, but it's coming out physically because they're not encouraged to express their emotions. Maybe their parents aren't very emotional, or vice versa. Maybe one of their parents is very sort of angry and abusive. So the child is not going to have the chance to express their emotions. Okay, they're going to be pushed back down. Don't get mad. You're going to go to your room. Don't cry. It's all right. Don't be scared. So it's all this negativity. Don't feel this emotion. Don't express that. So that is suppression. And I hear it all the time, like I said, and you see it a lot of times with people where they're working with people close to themselves, whether it's a family member, spouse, a child, where there's a lot of conflict, meaning it's really hard to express your true feelings when you also have love for somebody or you have mixed emotions. So the negative emotions get buried. Okay, if you're angry or upset about somebody and there's somebody close to you, you may have a tendency to hold back on expressing that anger. So that's a form of suppression. A lot of people with anxiety disorders end up having suppressed anger and anxiety shows up instead. Okay, some people who have had grief that's not been processed can also develop physical symptoms, sadness. So, like I said, any emotion can be directed into a physical pathway because the centers of the brain overlap. The emotional center of the brain, um, as we know from some pretty good research coming out now, it can cause very real physical symptoms, and it's been implicated in chronic pain. And it's also been shown last year, 2020, in a study in mice that when we turned off your amygdala, we turned off physical pain completely. So the emotional centers of the brain are at the heart of a lot of chronic conditions. And when we talk about emotion, we're talking mainly about suppression. Okay, holding in. There's been a couple studies I can think of now where with back pain where they had people hold in their feelings, and what happened was they ended up with more sensitivity in the body 8 hours later when they tested them for pain sensitivity. People held in their anger, frustration, had way greater pain sensitivity 8 hours later. So what that shows us is that we can suppress in the moment what we feel, but it doesn't mean it's gone away. It doesn't mean it's finished. It's probably pushed into the body somewhere and can live there or can be coming out in another way. Now, we'll talk more in another video about how one of your conditions can start out from suppressing emotions, and then it can go from that into a whole another world of a conditioning pattern, meaning it's gone on for a period of time. Now it takes on a life of its own. So there's different pieces of the puzzle here, but this suppression piece of emotion is paramount, in my opinion. It seems to be one of the triggers to start off a chronic pain condition. So I'd like to kind of change that TMS from Tension Myositis Syndrome to Too Much Suppression. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe share your own stories about how your situation started, how you deal with your emotions, what's your emotion regulation style? Do you have a tendency to wear your emotions on your sleeve freely, express what you feel all the time, or do you have a tendency to sort of hold in, to suppress more of your feelings? If you do, there's a good chance that that is a contributing factor to your physical symptoms. All right, everybody. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.